a weekend of activities beginning on Saturday morning. Father Dave and Fernando hosted us at the rectory, which is right across the street. For those of you who know Gainesville, the University of Florida campus, it's right across the street from the law school. So it's about a mile, a little less than a mile away from the church. It's a very Spartan place, their rectory, but very well set up, and they hosted us there for a brunch, the whole group. It was kind of like the brunch was like an icebreaker. It was just the men, those of us who went up, and the ones who brought their spouses, they were also included. There were none of the students at the brunch, so we were able to mingle and exchange ideas and have some conversation. From there, we were invited over back to the Catholic Student Center, which is right behind the church. The church fronts University Avenue, St. Augustine Church fronts University Avenue, which is one of the main thoroughfares in Gainesville, and the northern boundary of the campus. So right behind is the Catholic Student Center. They have a very nice room there, space, let's call it, with several rooms. Very well appointed for meetings, for the young men and ladies to come over and socialize and have their Bible studies, all their activities that they have on an ongoing basis. The biggest takeaway that I had, and by the way, this started at around 1 o'clock. It was a lunch. Again, we find that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. So food brought everybody over. We had roughly about 25, 30 young men, some of whom were Belen graduates, but the majority were not. And those who were not, I would say a good number of them were from public high schools, which kind of impressed me, that some of these young guys that did not have a Catholic formation through their school were still so tied to the church and to their faith and had an interest in growing their faith. In general, I found that the quality of the men who were there was excellent, excellent. Really guys that know the faith, that are leaders in what they do. We had pretty much all ages. We had a couple of freshmen. We had a few sophomores and juniors, some seniors as well. So it was a good mix, and they really were interested in hearing what we had to say, and we were interested in hearing what they had to say. So it was a very, very good exchange of ideas, and we left there thinking that there's a lot of potential. The program that Ray has developed at the University of Miami is a good, let's call it roadmap for us to follow, with a little different challenge, because we're about 5.5 hours away by car. So we plan on figuring out a way for us to go up there on a rotating basis, so that we try to be up there, somebody from our group to be up there at least once a month on a rotating basis. And that could be some of the same people that went up for this initial meeting, as well as people like Carlos Muñiz and Willie Cueto, who have kids who are students up there. So you'll have a reason to go up there to visit. And when you do that, hopefully you'll be able to also participate with the Catholic Gators group. So that's kind of my impressions, my view of how I saw it. Efrain?
A quick question. Out of those 25, can you gather a guess as to how many were Latino versus not Latino? Or you couldn't tell?
I'd say maybe a third were Latinos, maybe a third. The rest were, true-blooded Americanos. Go ahead, Mojena.
You say the church is right there and the school and the university?
Similar to St. Augustine here, directly across the street.
Yeah, but let
I think
me
better than St. Augustine here.
let me tell you, because I wanted to talk about that, where it's located. It's physically across the street from the university, and to each side, I believe there was a bar, one of the most frequented bars. Oh, no, there were kids lined up to get in the bar, and right next door, and then on the other side, a fraternity. So it couldn't be placed, the church I'm talking about, in the center, could not be placed in a better location. I mean, that is what it'd be. Now, one impression, based on what Andy was saying, now this was, having, I'm an alum, obviously, even though I didn't have the good fortune of having my two sons go there, send them to a second-rate school. They went to Georgia Tech, yes.
This is being taped.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I said that, you know that. But I was impressed of the number of young men that were there on game day, where there were parties and all kinds of parties all over the place. Tailgating. I mean, you had tailgating all over the place, liquor all over the place, all over campus. And yet, how many were there? I mean, there were so many there. I was so impressed that even in that particular setting, that so many of them showed up. So, no question, there's an incredible opportunity there to do whatever we want to do. And one of the things I wanted to say here today is certainly, solidify the follow-up as to what is it that we want to do. I know Louis' father and Eric made an excellent presentation on letting them know, who the Agua is and what opportunities there are. But I wanted to, from my perspective, and certainly I'd like to be part of any other follow-up to be able to close the deal here. I kind of made an analogy here. Some of these young men, that especially those that are looking to move into the workplace, finding some place where they can have an internship, right? Because I always recommend, and I work with a lot of young men and young engineers, to find a place to work while they're in school, for a semester, so they can see what they have. We can make an analogy here, right, in terms of what we can offer, right? Mentoring in an internship in their Christian and Catholic life. So that's something that I just thought on the way here today that might be, that we can discuss.
Do you have a school, like elementary school in the same church? No.
Do we have a what?
No.
No, St. Augustine Catholic elementary.
No, there's no school.
There are schools, Catholic schools in Alachua County in Gainesville, but it's not part of St. Augustine.
Yeah, not affiliated with
Part of that church. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
There's a fairly new high school, probably, 8 miles away. It's called St. Francis, and there's a parish called St. Patrick's that has also another 5-6 miles away that has a elementary school.
Before we continue with questions, Jay, why don't you give us your
Yeah. Well, what I wanted to say, as far as being impressed, my daughter did PT school up there, physical therapy school. So I got a chance to go up there and, like, since 2013, just to, kind of feel, how she's doing, and also being able to go ahead and hit the noon mass or the 5:30 mass. I was always impressed by the number of students that were at either of those two masses. And then, ironically, when Eric came here and spoke to us, he really emphasized how much the St. Augustine Catholic Gators is what got the vocation, solidified in him. Not to say that he obviously didn't have a good start with Estovide, but he just really spoke as to how much that Catholic Gators meant to them. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is twofold. One, there were two graduates from Belen that were not part of Estovide that were there, and they have been attracted by what they have seen in Catholic Gators. And that pretty much, like, whoa. In addition to that, we found out that there are 4 nuns that are working within the Catholic Gators and within St. Augustine. 2 of those nuns were students at the University of Florida and had come through Catholic Gators. So the vocations, man, are bubbling there. We met one of them. We met Sister Catherine at the Blessed Sacrament Chapel that is in the house right next to the rectory. That's the convent. So that was, just something that to me was like amazing to see how much is happening. The number of Bible studies and things that they do there are tremendous. We met a gentleman, Vincent, who gets involved with the youth programs and some of the ministries, and once again, solid individual. He was there with his wife and his family. We're stepping into something that has a tremendous base and a tremendous amount of vocations that are happening. So whatever we can do, not only for them, but also for us, and to be able to get those students, once they graduate, to come on down, whether it's to Miami, Atlanta, DC, and they have the connection to the ACU. That's something that would be tremendous for both organizations and for the continuing spiritual formation of those students.
I want to jump straight into the deep sea. What do you guys think, based on your experience, based on the conversations that took place there, and not necessarily going beyond into the moon or anything like that, reality? What do you guys think we, Apple, can do for them? Your perception, not necessarily what the director thinks, not what the president thinks. You guys out there, what is your perception about it?
I
Real
think,
quick, before you respond, I'm just going to pass this around. You guys, we gave one of these to each of the Catholic Gators. CJ prepared these. It's a little thermos. It's really nice. And then this little booklet about the Agrupacion and nation spirituality. So just going to pass it around. You guys can, just so you browse and see what we got for them there.
Do not keep the glass unless you're willing to dip in $15 in it.
Cesar, I'm going to take a stab at answering your question.
And I want this to be a clear round table in which ideas will be thrown out.
Absolutely.
Which one will stick to the wall, we don't know.
Absolutely.
What I'd like to hear is as much variety as possible.
I think one of the things that we need to offer them is what Jerry was mentioning. I think mentoring while they're there. I heard a little snippet there. There was a young man that Ramon and I were speaking to. I think he's an engineering student, and he's a senior, and we kind of asked him about his plans. And he said, well, I want to go to graduate school. And Ramon stopped him. He said, don't do that. Don't go to graduate school right away. Work for a couple of years, and then go to graduate school. So the reason I bring this up is I think we have walked in their shoes in the past, and we can help guide these young men and serve as mentors. And I think that's something we can even do long distance. We don't have to physically be there. That they can feel, they can pick up the phone and call one of us. There were several guys there that were studying biomedical engineering, biology, with the hopes of going to medical school. So those who are here among us, who are doctors, who are in the healthcare field, maybe can serve as mentors for those. Those who are engineers, those of us who are in the business world. We can serve as a mentor, and you don't have to be a Gator alum. You can just serve in your own specialty, your own background, professional background, and serve as a mentor. And I think we can really help these guys a lot, that they can rely on us to be mentors. From there, I think the monthly meetings that we hopefully can initiate and can continue to do, to show presence and to help them with formation. would be the other thing. And then, of course, after they graduate, hopefully we have them as ACU congregantes. And some of them, you know, a lot of them are not going to come to Miami, but opportunities to maybe create ACU chapters in Tampa, in Fort Myers, you know, different cities. I think this opens up our boundaries to other areas outside of Miami, Washington, Atlanta, and Puerto Rico.
Jay, Gary, do you feel the same way? Or are you going to, or you have a different impression of what we can do?
No, I think, well, obviously the distance is an issue here, right? You know, if we go with the traditional map that we've had here, like what Ray is doing with the University of Miami, it's more challenging. But I think we can possibly start with a quasi-mentoring program of some sort. And that it could be, it doesn't have to be strictly, you know, we're going to offer you spiritual exercises, but yeah, we can do that. And what about your career? You want to know something about your career, because they also want to know those types of things. So I think if we can tie both of those things now, we can do it by Zoom. We don't have to go there physically. So I think we can start with that. But the important thing is to start doing something. And you know, I would have wanted to try to have left with something specific. Well, we have time to do that. I mean, obviously, we established a very good communication with them. So, yes, there are a lot of us here that could do that. So I would start with something like that if we were to start something. But a plan to if we have a dream, you know, to rent a house up there and do the same thing where, you know, some of you guys that would live there, you know, back in the 60s. But you know, that's a different story. I mean, I don't think we're there yet.
Jay, before we move into some questions, what is your opinion?
Here is my thoughts. The model and what has happened, what Ray has done there, is literally build something almost from scratch. That's my personal opinion. I know that there are things that, you know, Father Tran was doing and Father Rigaud was doing, but the actual stuff that Ray has done with the people that he's getting involved is something that they did not have. Here, we're walking into something that the spiritual side appears to be pretty much being, you know, handled, and apparently pretty well handled. I think we need to further discuss with Father David and Fernando, but especially Father David, what else can we provide on the spiritual side? Because you're saying, well, we go there when they meet. Hey, they're meeting in a whole bunch of different times and days. So I think we need to go ahead and find out a little bit more. Now, as far as the mentoring, I agree that we can go ahead and from a business and from a career standpoint, we can mentor anytime. In fact, we can go up there and say, hey, on Wednesday or on a night that they are doing something that's not Bible study or whatever, you know, we can go ahead and do X, Y, Z for you. But I think we definitely need to further, you know, get more details with Father David as to what is the way that we can, you know, improve or add to what they are currently doing, which has tremendous
Okay, questions, we'll let the question be focused to
We need to let
that particular subject.
we need to
Okay,
let.
the question I think my question is, what does the priest, the guy who's in charge up there, what does he want you to do?
That's
What
the
does,
issue.
what does he want us to do?
Louis can answer that.
And
Let
whatever
Louis.
he wants us to
Let
do,
Louis.
that's what you should focus on.
Yeah.
Well,
Louis knows.
what is
There's a lot of things that we can do, The question is not what we can do. What do they want us to do?
The way that I understood, and please, if you all feel it's different, correct me. He was wanting to get us to help identify incoming Catholics so that then he can go ahead and, touch base with them and bring them in. One aspect. Another thing then is once they graduate, how can they continue their spiritual formation wherever their careers are? So it's a front end and a back end issue. Now, you may have spoken in more details to Father or to Fernando, but those are the two main points that I absorbed from everything that we've been hearing, whether it's on the Zoom call, whether it's on his, the charla that he gave, etc., and what he spoke with up there. So tell me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
There is something that I think that might have been missing also here with both Escobar and now the university, and it just came up with me about what we are talking. And it's the fact that even with the very young people, because I'm talking about my own experience, we should talk about apostolate. In other words, we should try to guide them to do something, not just to be nicely, spiritually communicated with our God or whatever, but actually getting that out of that indeed we have to give something. God gave us and we have to promote that. I think that the guidance that we can give, and not only in the University of Florida, but also here with the at UM and whatever, even in Escobar, I think that is something that is missing. I remember when I was in high school, and I became one of the squires of Columbus, which is actually the young of the Knights of Columbus. And I did go to the. I was just in high school, and we went to go to these places, and people very low income people or whatever, and try to catechism with them. And that's how we got started. We also, believe it or not, trying to, we were pushing the squad, the Knights, to do something and getting more involved with their own people, So I think this is something that is very important, because if you don't give out something, you are not going to grow up spiritually. Okay. It's just going to be that it's not going to grow. You grow when you actually give. Why? Because that's loving. That's actually loving, and when you love is when indeed you get closer to that. So this is something that we should try to not only. It just came to my mind today because I never brought it up with UN or with Escobar, but I think that we have to do it. Okay.
Good point taken. Okay, I got a question.
No es una pregunta, es un decir, el que mucho abarca, poco aprieta. Hay que concentrarse en un punto, y cuando se concentran en ese punto van al próximo paso y después al otro. Si tratan de hacer todo de un viaje apostolado, cada vez que la religión, cada vez que la educación, toda esa cosa, no va a hacerse nada. O sea, hay que concentrarse en un punto y de ese punto continuar y hacer lo que haga falta hacer y después pasar al próximo.
Luis, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Ignacio llegó tarde, yo quiero darle la oportunidad.
Espera, deja que hable Luis primero, que está aquí.
Sí.
Luis está aquí, sí.
I take it back. Thank you. Ignacio.
Deja que hable Luis.
Okay. Ignacio, o toma la chance o pasamos a Luis.
What's the question?
¿Cuál es tu impresión? ¿Cuál es tu impresión de la visita?
Impresión de la vida.
El fin de semana del contacto con el
I think the Agrupacion has plentiful to do in Gainesville. Okay, University of Florida right now has more than 50,000 students. About 15 to 20% of them are Hispanic. I presume half of them are male. So I was very impressed with the Catholic Gators, very impressed with the whole setup. And I think what Pablito said is very right. You know, let's just concentrate on one particular area and provide support to them. You know, it seems to me like the Catholic Gators, you know, I encourage you to go to catholicgators.org on the website for everything that they stand for. So I think the difference between the Gainesville and Miami San Augustine churches is that the one in Coral Gables caters more to non-university students. The one in Gainesville mainly is all university population, including the kids. So I think we have a lot to do, and I am thrilled to that what happened. And I think the first impression was great, but you know, we're just trying to search around it. What is my dream? My dream is that the Agrupacion will have another house that after what, I believe the house is 48 years, 50 years ago was the last time that the house was there. By the way, the house that I thought was there, they sold the land for $3.6 million, and they are building a new building there. So real estate in Gainesville is extremely pricey now.
Okay, Mr. President.
Just to cover a couple of things. So the goal, the purpose of our relationship with the Catholic Gators is to, right now, as it stands right now, is for us to refer to them Catholic students that are moving over to Gainesville and then continue their formation there and have a community life while in the university. We spoke a lot about community. Then, once they're done, is for, okay, what's next? That is then the purpose of the act. For them to refer to us in our different chapters where to continue that formation of where to have a community. That is, as it stands right now, our relationship with them. So I just wanted to share with you guys that so we did a presentation on the mission statement of the ACU and also the 3 pillars. So it does cover apostolate. We did cover that. And after the presentation of the 3 of us, then some students came up to us and stuff. We were talking to them beforehand, but after the presentation, in particular, and I take it as a confirmation that yes, this is where the Spirit is leading us, and this is we're going in the right path. A student came up to me and says, "I'm a senior. I'm studying my senior year. I'm studying business, and I already have a job offer in Brickell, in Miami, and I was looking for something like the ACU." I was like, "Wow, that's pretty strong." He just came up to me and he told me that. He says, "You know, I have this community here, but I'm moving into a new city." The guy actually told me, "No, somebody told me that the cheapest place to stay is in Aventura, and the drive is not so bad." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? No. Give me a call, let's talk." And he says, "Oh yeah, I need help. I'm moving to Miami and I have no idea what's going on." So that of him saying that I'm looking for something like that I take it as a confirmation. And then to answer the questions, okay, so afterwards, after the meeting and stuff like that, we all went to the football game. And during the 3rd quarter, we actually, Eric and I, we went ahead and we started doing some business talks with Fernando. Fernando is the person in charge of development. the development and stuff like that. So we had to contact Father Dave and Fernando. And so we started talking to him, and I go to Fernando, I'm like, what's next? And Fernando goes, well, no, after the game, that's it, you go to the hotel, that's it. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm like, what's next with the ACU and the Catholic Gators? Where do we go from here? So we started talking and stuff like that, and so the next steps are actually, it shows in the newsletter, they have a men's formation group that meets on Thursday nights. So they want for us to help them with formation, either Ignatian spirituality or something like that. So I left Fernando with the homework of putting some topics together. And then we'll see between the ACU Gators and the ACU Gator fathers, like Carlos over there, and Willie Cueto, to go once a month up there and to help with their formation. It is going to be an opportunity for that mentorship. It's going to be an opportunity for them to get to know us better, and let's see what the Holy Spirit has for us. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, of what's next. So they're very interested in putting an Ignatian exercises together for the students. So again, I put the homework back on Fernando, and he's putting some dates together, and we're going to be working on that. Hopefully, my dream is so that we could get students from Georgia Tech, from Catholic University in DC, from Miami, and from UF, and have Natanda exercises for students somewhere where they could all meet. So in reference to what's next, that's what's next.
I want to affirm this idea of mentorship as well. I'm observing what happens at these Catholic campuses. One of the main goals of Catholic University campus ministry is just to get the students out of the debauchery that we see in our universities. That's one of their main goals. And get them out of the debauchery and encounter Christ through the Word. And the Focus missionaries, particularly Catholic Gators, do a great job at doing that. They have Bible studies, they have community events, get them out of decisions they're going to regret for a few years, and get them out of the pain that they're going to feel. Encounter Christ through the Word. What they don't have, and what I think this mentorship idea that you guys are bringing up is what's essential. University life is 4 years. Then you have the rest of your life ahead of you. It's great that those Catholic campus ministries are keeping them out of that bondage, if you will, that sin that really is pervasive. But what's next is what's missing. What do you do as a Catholic professional? How do you live your life as a Catholic professional? How do you take what you learn through the Word and your encounter with Christ, and now how do you apply it in the secular world? Because very few of those men are going to go be priests. They're all going to be engineers, lawyers, doctors, accountants, physical therapists, nurses. What do? Because they're not going to have that community that guy was looking for. Well, he's going to come work here in marketing and advertising. What do? Become a Sunday Catholic? How do you live that life? How do you continue that? So I think this idea, these guys are onto something, and noticing that idea of mentorship in this community, that there's got to be a bridge from this, look, let's just create a safe haven here. We're going to create a safe haven for these guys. But what's on the other side is what's missing, and how to transition to that effectively and be, as Father Stein said to those guys, changing society in the workplace. That takes another level of formation, another level of application of your faith in the workplace. And I think that's where we and the Agrupacion can really give that impetus to say, how do you live your faith in the workplace? I think we need to have the answer to that question.
Father, if you want to offer a few of you.
Here, come sit here.
Yeah, for
me, it was the first time to go up to UF, and no, I would tell the students and all that, I heard many legends about this place. When I was going to the college search myself, it was tied with FSU as the #1 party school in the United States. So I wanted to disprove or to confirm or deny those rumors in there. And but yeah, certainly there's un ambiente that can create a need, and it was very comforting to see that there was a selection of young men from the university, from that ambiente, that are searching for something outside of it. And so that was, for me at least, the first thing that impacted me. There is a large group in there. Another thing that I do like is Father Dave was talking about that. He has an idea also for the men's group in there. Part of the things that he's kind of short-staffed too. That a lot of things he'd like to do, but he only has so many hours in the day and only so many things that he can attend his attention to. And what it is also to form a community of young men in there that are studying, but also to form them as men, and things that you're not going to learn in college. And when you go out in the world and you become a young man, some of these skills or some of these things are lost, and unfortunately people are not getting it at home where they're growing up. An example, how to change a tire if you got a flat tire. How to fix basic things at home. If they pretend that they're going to get married and have their own homes, but they don't know how, the first thing to do and how to change a lock or how to fix something, well, that's a problem. So the idea is also to have a community that not only builds up community, fellowship, spirituality, and all that, but also builds men too, men that we need in the world today. So that was like the other thing that kind of caught my attention, that I think has a lot of promise. Certainly, I think in what we were aiming at, and kind of the plan that we're thinking about, was that those Catholic Gators that are coming to Miami, that we know are coming to Miami, or to Atlanta, or to DC, or even to San Juan, that the UF Catholic program would be able to direct them towards us, exactly with that young man that talked to Luis and said, hey, this is what I'm looking for. I'm going to this city and I need, a community to belong to. So that will be kind of the collaboration that we're looking at. And then from our side, our students from Miami or from Belen or from Escobir, we also direct them, hey, go to Catholic Gators. This is your next step when you're away from here. Because obviously, our campus ministry and our reach doesn't go that far. And you're entering a different place. So it's kind of a mutual beneficial relationship that we have. Yep.
So I like the way you guys are thinking, especially everyone there in the panel. And I understand we got to take baby steps, right? And so can we help out with the weekly meeting and the spiritual exercises makes total sense. That would be definitely two key things that we need to push. But we know what the formula is that works. It's the formula. It works in Atlanta. It works in Miami right now, which is weekly meetings. Getting to that level, right? Getting to that point. Think about, and I like Luis where you're going to with Fernando. Kind of like put it on him. Think about, can we? Because our biggest problem right now is we don't have anybody there who's an Agrupado. How can we? And Father Dave's been there for 13 years. That's my understanding. 13 years.
2008.
Yeah. So he's got to know a lot of things. Is there a way to get a connection with someone who can be, not, and it's not right away, but something that they introduce us to people that maybe could be the go-between. So then it makes it easier for us to go and support that person, versus us having to go up there every week, which we're not. I mean, it just doesn't sound like we have the bandwidth for going up every week, right? And it sounds like right now we come in once a month, which I think is more realistic to go once a month. I would suggest 2 people at a time. Use this model, send 2 people at a time. But just think about that. I don't know, maybe you already thought about it, but it's something that we should put into Father Dave's, into their radar. Think of, because we really, that group of men, and having a meeting every week will be what brings us the fruits. Wherever they go, wherever they lead to new houses.
ask before the next question?
We have to understand that they do have a men's formation, women's formation. They're doing a lot. Estamos en la época del enamoramiento. That's where we are right now. And then we're gonna see where this develops.
Absolutely.
But yes, that is, and it's been a thought, but
But look at it, definitely, agree, totally agree. But let's look at the numbers, because Matthew mentioned it, which is absolutely right. It's over 50,000 students. How many students are they really touching? He said it here when he was here. They're barely touching the surface. I mean, there is a lot of terrain there to go. We have the resources to help them out. So it's a great, we're very well aligned, absolutely. The fact is, he needs something like this. It's not just strengthening the formation group in the men's, it's taking it to the next level, to be honest. And I like the vision that Ignacio has, and I think, also Jerry, and it's like, hey, it'd be great, what is the goal? To get a house over there, right? That's the goal.
We have a question when you're going.
Not a question, it's a statement.
Can you take a mask so we can listen better?
Yeah, just a statement, not a question. The fact that they're prepared to put us in front of them once a month, I think that's a major accomplishment. I mean, I think that's, to you all, I think that was worth the trip. I mean, for the people on the nose, to say, you come up here and do it once a month, get in front of the faces. Wow. Now, I think that's our next step. We got to brainstorm what are we going to deliver once a month, because that's how we're going to build that bridge. Right? We could either, that bridge could fall there, or that bridge is just going to keep going up, So I think it could necessarily be an area of focus. Because I agreed to, we're going to do it. We have to do it.
I think that there have been here lots of great ideas. I think that there is room there, and it is right to bring those ideas there, but it has to be something that it has to be developed. I mean, it's going to take a little time. You cannot just push it up everything.
Is there any comments?
Okay. They have different seminars for the students. One of the seminars this week was in discernment. So Father David was inviting the students to come to the seminar on discernment, and I told my granddaughter, who's just studying at Santa Fe and doesn't know where to go, to participate in that seminar. So if we have anything in YouTube from the Agrupacion on different topics, I think we need to make the San Agustin community aware that we have a YouTube, different topics. I wonder if we have one on discernment.
All this, everything can be brought up.
And the other thing we want to do is,
be patient.
The College Council of Belém, when I requested something for the event that we call Gator Guayabera Guateque, she sent me the whole list of about 50 students that were going to UF about 2 years ago. So, all we had to do is ask the College Council of Belém to provide us with a list of people going to UF. I mean, we can have an open house here and have Father David come and Fernando come so they can meet.
That's a very good idea. That's an excellent idea. And that could easily be arranged.
Okay, I don't think there's any red tape here with Belém.
Absolutely. Bring him down and he'll love that. That's an excellent idea.
Is there a comment that you have, Bromway? Okay. This is the last question.
Did you find some kind of concern, some kind of way to look at life in the future about how to, the Father mentioned, change the society? Do they feel, did they communicate to you that they feel okay with the society? They didn't show any concern about changing the society?
We didn't get that deep.
Well, we didn't get that deep, but I will say, I'm sorry.
We didn't have the time to go into
No, but I will say this much. Part of what they do in attracting the folks to Catholic Gator is once a month on a Friday night. They start at 8 o'clock with a mass. They then go ahead and go into, some songs inside, prayer, exposition of the Blessed Sacrament, etc. They have confessions. And then what some of the students that are Catholic Gators, what they were telling us that they do is they go outside because, as he described it, you've got 4 bars in that block to the east side of St. Augustine. Then you have a couple for like 2 or 3 fraternities on the other side. These guys that literally go outside with these little candles, and they say, how would you like to go ahead and, go in, light this, take it to the altar, and pray. And that's part of how they are introducing the people. They were saying about one of the guys that he was with about 6 or 8 or 9 friends, and only he came in. But then after he went inside and prayed, he came out and talked a couple of the other ones to stay with him. So it's changing society. You've got the changing of the behavior within the university, and then you've got the changing of society, in your career. I know that my son Louis ended up doing something, if I'm not mistaken, through St. Augustine, where they went to the Appalachian, some Appalachian Christian, building houses and things. So that's something that they get to do also.
Amen. Basically concerned about the society, social problems today.
I think they are.
I got to close this, unfortunately, due to time, we got people that are watching us, and we need to be respectful to them. However, I'd like to emphasize something. And the whole purpose of having all these individuals that took their time, together with our director, and go all the way to Gainesville on a long weekend, leaving their family behind, maybe putting all the things that they wanted to do aside. It has to be not only a show of commitment, but it has to be also something that we all eventually will have to do. The opportunity that we have ahead, and if I might describe it just like the president just said, estamos en la etapa de enamoramiento, pero un enamoramiento que parece que nos estamos gustando. Okay? This is not a situation in which we went and we liked it, and forget it's too hard or too difficult for me, or I just don't want to pay the price. This is a situation in which the signs provided to us are indicating that it looks interesting, that even though it's a little bit far away, the sacrifice is worthwhile, and there is no need to be a question in our minds that we're willing to pay the price. However, the price is not necessarily monetary. The price is the time. And I want this experience that this brother Agrupados took to become a challenge to those who are sitting on the other side of the table. And if we're going to go there and accept the commitment of once a month, even if we have to take a day off of work so that we can go to, and if we need to bring our wives along, we'll do it. That's not going to be the headache. The headache is that we need to say yes, and I'd rather look at this experience a year down the road as an opportunity that we failed because we didn't know what to do and we were afraid. That we didn't know how to do it, rather than being afraid to take the challenge. I don't want people to be afraid to take the challenge. I want the people to be gutsy. I want the people to be willing and know that the remainder of the ACU is going to be supportive. So we need to start thinking about this. Obviously, we got the individuals here. We got first-hand experience. I don't know what's going to be next. I don't know if it's going to be providing for a priest, not necessarily our director, I want to commit them, but whoever that we can provide, get them to do an spiritual exercises. But let's not drop the ball.
I'll say for the distance part, a Cessna changes 6 hours to 5 hours, you can get a good Cessna for $45,000. And all I need is about 10 more hours to finish my pilot's license.
There you go.